30. So our first presentation for this morning is from Japan. We have Mr. Furuichi here with us, Mr. Nobuyuki Nomura, Mr. Noriyaki Tajima, and Mr. Tajima is alumni of the AA. So could I get all three of them here for the presentation? Mr. Furuichi. Oh.
Thank you very much for introduction, Mr. Ken Yan. I'd like to start explaining about our presentation, and the title is Edo Horizontal. Actually, Edo is the old name of Tokyo. And this is the city of Edo, old Tokyo. It was maintained by a canal network as well as a road network. It was the largest city in the world in the 18th century with more than 1 million people. Ordinary citizens lived in a high-density area, while ruling class samurai warriors, you know samurai, occupied a huge land. Thank you. And Kyoto was the capital of Japan from 994 to 1603. In 1603, Ieyasu Tokugawa, he seized the power after the Civil War. He decided to move the capital from Kyoto to Edo, which is an old name of present Tokyo. He started the construction of a new capital, which was almost like starting from scratch. And I hope you know Feng Shui was adopted to determine the master plan of Edo. Edo succeeded the concept of Kyoto by the way of Feng Shui. It was believed that 4 gods protected a city in 4 directions, and that these 4 gods ruled the universe. From viewpoint of West, it is a bit strange that devils come horizontally, not from the sky. The North is protected by legendary animal, combined by a snake and a turtle. This is snake and turtle. While the South by a phoenix, the East by a dragon, and the West by a white tiger. It was almost believed that the snake turtle stays in the mountain. Always in the North, there should be a mountain. And while phoenix reposes in a lake, dragon in a river, and the white tiger on some road somewhere. For instance, the present Tokyo is composed of this concept. For instance, south is the Tokyo Bay, and east side there is a big Tone River, and north is a big mountain. Kyoto was actually constructed based on this philosophy of Feng Shui, and Edo succeeded it. After the decision focusing on basic concept of the new capital, the designing of the road network started together with that of a major canal network. The urban structure of Kyoto was adopted as a model for this city. 5 main roads were constructed, each of which extended to the very extremities of Japan, so as to have relatively easy access to and from all the regions of Japan to the new capital. This is Edo. The new road networks was rather important and radical, for the old network was focused on Kyoto. In other words, Ieyasu Tokugawa, who was a shogun, wanted to declare that Edo should be a new capital, both politically and economically. Edo expanded very rapidly and grew to become a huge metropolis early on. As a result, the government needed to counteract for the urban sprawl. The central zone was The central zone was allocated as the shogun's castle zone that of the ruling government zone. The new method to solve this problem was to let Edo expand horizontally in the manner of a metaphorical spiral. So functional zoning was not clearly determined, particularly in the area of ordinary citizens. The land was mixed-used. This spiral could be combined quite effectively with the 5 main roads, which spread radially from the center to the outlying provinces. And this was also combined with a network of canals in various zones. So this is Edo 1632, and this is after 12 years. So this was the starting. The first construction was here, and gradually they constructed this way, and in a spiral way. So when it comes to Tokyo Bay, they exclaimed. It was growing as a particularly unique city in terms of land ownership. In the middle of the 17th century, the population was nearly 1 million strong. Some 500,000 souls were samurai warriors, who were by this time the main staff in the shogun's government, while other 500,000 were ordinary citizens, such as merchants, craftsmen, and so on. However, 84% of the land belonged to the samurai classes, while 16% only belonged to the ordinary classes. This meant that ordinary people were obliged to live in a quite limited area. This is ordinary people. This is the samurai people. They occupy huge land. As all the buildings and the houses were made from wood at that time, consequently most of them had only 1 or 2 stories. Especially houses for the lower income classes had 1 story, with a small floor area for each unit. Most lower income people lived in tenement houses, which always expanded horizontally and had a linear path in the middle with the long houses in parallel. Their living space was quite small, without private toilets or bathrooms. Toilets were located in the end of the properties, while people generally also used to go to the frequent public baths. Public baths were very common in Edo, so there were many in each living quarter. Public baths were an important leisure space for people, where people exchanged information and gossip. On the other hand, public water supply was rather developed in Edo, considering its time. Men and women used to bathe together to save water, which was quite nice. No more. Stalls for eating became very popular because living spaces for low-income people were so small. Those people devised outdoor life quite well. We call it the yatai. And always they are carrying their stalls, and people could enjoy eating outside. And each tenement house had a public well. Water was supplied to each well through a water pipeline underground. Housewives were washing together here in the daytime when it was a fine day, which created a community among them. As well as water supply, sewage systems were working well. Human excrement from the public toilets in each tenement house was bought by farmers living outside Edo. The cost of living for the people of Edo was so high, for Edo people who were eating good food. human excrement was used as an agricultural fertilizer, and the gift to the field went back to Edo, again as vegetables. This was a typical recycling of nature, and we can call it an old ecological system. Canals were developed in a network with roads on the land for both inner and outer transportation. It was a canal city. There used to be so many canals. And in the high dense areas, always the problem is the fire. Citizens were most afraid of fires. Firemen were always heroes and like movie stars. So they, when fire happened, there used to be many firemen groups, and they are competing in climbing up on the roof. And many people are watching. And there is some joke in Edo time. The most fantastic things in Edo life is fire and fighting. And every living quarter used to have a hero fireman. Edo was functioning as a capital of Japan with a population of 1.2 million people. Density was quite high in the area of ordinary citizens. Edo was expanding horizontally with a horizontal way of order. Edo was ecological and not consuming so much energy. What could be recycled was done quite well. In that 21st century, the most important issue is how to recover the earth ecologically and environmentally. It can give us a hint. Japan was closed to protect the country from colonization during Edo period. Japanese original cultures matured. Cultures were influenced and created based on a traditional way of horizontal thinking. This is a kabuki play, traditional kabuki play. The stage is very horizontal, while Western opera stage is very vertical. People could easily move their heads horizontally because they are used to it. But to the contrary, they felt difficulty in moving their heads up vertically. Japanese gardens are designed horizontally because people used to sit on tatami mat. This is tatami mat. And Japanese rooms were designed to be directly open to the outside. People always enjoyed looking at traditional gardens from inside horizontally in all seasons. Snow in winter, cherry blossoms in spring. Now it's the best time in Japan, cherry blossom time. Green in summer and fallen leaves in autumn. And sometimes when I visit Kyoto, I found many people, many foreign people, Western people. But unfortunately, always they are looking at the gardens, standing. They never sit on tatami. So if you have a chance to go to Kyoto next time, when you are looking at the gardens, you should sit on tatami mat. This is a famous printing ukiyo-e. Perspective is shown on a flat paper into dimensions, I say horizontally. This means in a Western perspective, always they're using geometrically perspective. But in Japan, we are, by composition, we are showing, for instance, the distance. So horizontal lighting design. This is a modern contemporary design. The traditional way of horizontal thinking is reflected on the Japanese contemporary art in various fields. Lighting designer Motoko Ishii designed Shirakawa village lightscape on a UNESCO World Heritage. A new idea, bathing the entire site in artificial moonlight, was created horizontally with consideration given to preservation of the traditional wooden structure. With this horizontal light up, Shirakawa is becoming one of Japan's leading night sightseeing spots. So light is not from the mountain, but light was given horizontally. And this is contemporary art. We call it a super flat by artist Takashi Murakami. Super flat design was created by artist Takashi Murakami, influenced by ukiyo-e and painting of Jack-Chu, which were created and shown on a flat paper horizontally. This is a Jack-Chu. This was painted in the Edo period. His paintings are typical Japanese ones, which are quite flat in two dimensions. And this is skyscrapers, the gift of Western modern architecture in the 20th century by development of a new science and technology. However, when we are taking consideration into the global environment, we come to think whether they are truly necessary or not. Of course, this is case by case, but generally speaking, they are truly efficient, but they consume lots of energy, both in construction and in maintenance. Consequently, they played a role in destruction of our growth. In Asian countries, skyscrapers are city pride. Countries are competing in height. In the 21st century, the most important issue for architects to consider is how to recover the earth, both ecologically and environmentally. In that sense, I'd like to raise the point of importance of horizontal thinking against vertical thinking. And this is one example of my project. This project is a Buddhist temple in Japan. And the ultimate goal for the Japanese Buddhists is to reach as a paradise. Saiho Jodo in Japanese. This is Saiho Jodo, which means Buddha land in the west, which is northern part of India, actually Nepal. When one's body vanishes, to attain this in Jodo sect, to pray repeatedly to the west, actually to India, where Buddha was born. Consequently, gardens in Japanese Buddhist temples are always designed horizontally to the west. So this was a site of my project. The site is on a steep slope where an existing Buddhist temple was located with its courtyard and a graveyard on artificial mound, the structure of which had deteriorated, causing danger of landslide. So this was constructed by a reinforced concrete slab, but which was too old, and it became very dangerous. So municipal government ordered the temple to demolish. In our design, actually this is a slope and this is a site, and there used to be a graveyard on the artificial concrete slab, but which was deteriorated very much and become very dangerous. So but the problem was they don't have a budget for the construction. And also another problem was that there might be a landslide, so we need a retaining wall. So it was a competition. So our team proposed to build ossuary by using this retaining wall. And there used to be 100 graves, but we proposed 450 units for keeping bones in it. And they will be sold to public, and the profit will be given to the budget of the construction. But first, in the competition time, we proposed almost 350. And 350 units are quite good for construction cost. But we found we forgot our design fee. So after that, we increased number of units to increase our design fee. And in Buddhism, there are two words. We call it Shigan, the world where we live. And the Higan is the world after we die. So this is a world after we die. This is a world we live. And in between there is water. So this is water. We call it Shinsi Ike, a pond of holy water. Is considered a boundary of Higan, the world after one's death. And the Shigan, the world we live. After passing through the temple gate and ascending the stairways, visitors come to Shigan. So this is the main approach. And they have to go up on the steps, and they reach to Shigan. After crossing the gate bridge, this is a gate bridge, they reach to the Osuari and Higan, where they meet the souls of their ancestors. And the Osuari stretches from south to north, punctuated at the center by a new gate to the temple and its precinct, which we call the traditional mountain gate of Japanese temples. In Japanese temples, always gate is very important as a symbol of our Shigan. So this is a temple gate in Nara. And this is inside. This is a section of Osuari, and this is the water. The pond enters the Osuari to illuminate the inside space by reflecting light in the evening. Sunset light from the west enters the Osuari through small openings in the facade. There are many openings on the facade. This is the west. And the sunlight from woodland comes into the Osuari space through the small openings. West has a special meaning which is a paradise. The ultimate goal for Buddhists called Saiho Jod. And also light is also coming in horizontally and reflected on the water. So this is a night view and this is a daytime. So this is a Higan, which means there is bones in the Osuari. This is the temples here. So this is from the mountain gate. And this was the old temple. But this has too old. And this is the first stage. This is Osuari and water, and in the old temples complex. But problem was these temples were wooden and damaged by ants. Ants eating wood very much. So we proposed a main praying hall in the existing site of the old temples. But the problem was when we are designing a main praying hall, the problem was they don't have enough budget, of course. And this was reinforced concrete, but this was designed by steel structure because of the budget, because the steel is much cheaper than reinforced concrete. But the point was how to harmonize these two buildings, because this is quite wall design. This is very much column design. So this is Osuari, and this is the main praying hall. So finally, we proposed, in our initial design, we proposed steel structure, but which is not so harmonious with reinforced concrete wall. So we propose so many columns, and which can be thinner, because there are so many columns. And when we propose these many columns, finally it looks like abstract wall. So this is a main playing hall, and this is facing to the west, which is Buddha land, and this is the water. And the number of columns is 33. 33 is a special, has a special meaning in the Buddhism. So these columns are very thin. And we propose so many columns. Finally, it looks like not so strong column structure, but very flat design. So this is the main gate. And this is almost 3 o'clock p.m. And when in the sunset time, the sunshine from the west is coming directly to this main facade. And through this opening, the sunset light comes into the praying hall, and which give a light to the figure of Buddha inside. And it's, we call it a holy light from the west, from Buddha land. It comes into the praying hall horizontally. And when we are making a presentation to the client, first client was a bit surprised because they have never seen steel temples, steel Buddhist temples. But we understand originally Buddhist temples in India was always by stones. But when it comes to China, it was changed into a wooden structure. So it's the same thing here. Now this wood is changed into a wooden structure. So these steels are covered by zinc. And this is inside praying hall. And also problem was they don't have enough budget for air conditioning. So in summer times, all the partitions can be opened completely. So inside space is completely open to outside. So outside and inside is joined. So this is outside, but this is inside the space. And in between, there is a moving screen. And when we move these moving screens, this part is now a part of inside space. But when we close, this space is completely outside space. And but this is before the compression, and there will be a figure of Buddha here. And also, this part, the ceiling height of this space is higher than other space, because here we propose skylight, high side skylight, and sunshine from the west comes into this praying hall and gives a light to the figure of Buddha. Thank you very much.
It is so nice, actually, to come back here for me. We used to study at the AA in the early 90s. My name is Noriyaki Tajima, and this is Nobuyuki Nomura, and we are from Teledesign, Tokyo. Following Mr. Furuichi's lecture titled Edo Horizontal, we developed more the contemporary issue of the Tokyo titled Tokyo Horizontal. I and Nomura, as well as two other AA graduates, Hiroshi Ninomiya of Studio 2 Architects, and also Naoki Terada of Terada Design, collaborated for this lecture. Today, we will show some of the important aspects of Tokyo, while introducing some of our works, and also Hiroshi Ninomiya and Naoki Terada's work as well. Here, we don't mean horizontal, that is just the boundless expanse of Tokyo landscape, but also horizontal as artistic or architectural concept of flatness. So the subtitle is Flatness Expanded, Node as Catalyst. Here I would like to show briefly some of the conditions that frame our focus and interest on Tokyo. Scale. Tokyo and its conurbation covers an area of 13,000 square kilometers, wherein population about 33 million people live and work. That works out an average of 2,500 people per square kilometer. This immense scale and the horizontal outward urban spread gives a unique character to Tokyo. And the quality of public space. We are very much interested in the quality and meaning of public space. That can be achieved in such a dense environment. The city includes more than 300 kilometers of Tokyo Metropolitan Highway and more than 1,300 kilometers of railway network, which respectively move 1 million cars daily and more than 11 million people daily. A city on move. We look at this city not as frozen entity, but more like fluid condition that is constantly moving. When one is using the transportation system, or even when just walking through the city has never stopped. In this sense, as you proceed, perspective vanishing points are constantly shifting, changing, so we hold the city as moving existence. an urbanscape. During the last 10 years, many squares in Tokyo have been filled by large monitor screens that are in addition to the innumerable advertisement boards. A high newspaper and magazine circulation add the further dimension. The urbanscape of Tokyo is strongly identified by these uncountable features of the city. And behavioral cognition. We look at not only at the iconography of the city, but also small details of cognitive features and programmatic influences, human activities that make up the urbanscape. And information technology. There are 28 million mobile phones in current use in the greater Tokyo area. This means most people have at least one mobile phone, and more than 300 million mails are sent daily using mobile phones. The topology of the urban space is diversified by the invading wireless network. This means people's behavioral pattern of space use is dramatically changing, and this is something we consider crucial when we look at the city. Today we will talk about 4 areas that show our strategy and also recent works and activities that present our concept of urbanism. And first one is scene, hybrid layers. A second one, flow, invisible community. And third one is space, programmatic surface. And fourth, urbanism, node as catalyst.
So first of all, I would like to talk about the hybrid urbanscape of Tokyo. The photograph is most crowded Shibuya Hachiko Square. You can find already 3 huge monitor screens and thousands of people are poured into urbanscape. Information through monitors, noises, speeches, and so on. In Tokyo, various information such as billboard, digital advertisement, has been layered and then changed second by second, day by day, year by year. In the evening, it is even accelerated with lighting of neon signs and clouds. Due to these multi-layered information, the architectural facades disappeared in the nighttime. The ephemeral urbanscape became floating. In a way, it is too many things moving simultaneously going on. It is not any longer significant these small differences and details. Everything all together overlaid and mixed. It in a way goes flat, losing the contrast in perception. As if society changed day by day, the figure changes second by second. Information is displayed as a kind of displayed as something homogeneous at the end. Artist Tatsuo Miyajima used the figure in his works. In terms of his works, each number of figures doesn't have any connotation. There is only differences in appearance. It is, for an observer, meaningless random changes. In the overflowed information, it becomes white out. This is Sansuiga by Seshu, is a traditional painting on the left, using shade of the Japanese ink and 3 flat layers of 3 distances, close view, middle point view, and distance view, are drawn to show the depth and distance on a flat paper. On the other hand, right-hand side, manga, Japanese contemporary cartoon, breaks up such hierarchy, sense of space and fragmented cut of time and sequences, bring up further complex, flat out. Tatsuo Murakami is one of the most popular artists in fine art. His works are so colorful and flat, richness of something superficial. The work of Naoki Terada, a little product design project, A bulb planter is as fat and colorful as the Murakami's work. A little and mobile bulb planter for flowers is like an instant coffee maker to be set on a glass or a coffee cup. Aesthetic of this design probably has something resembling to what the artist called superflat of the fine art. Furthermore, from the flatness of the visual presence, in interface with IT technology also change some of attitude or perception of object. Alternative functions or alternative action is led by the interface design. These relate to the interactive design. Toshio UI designs the interactive information table. This table surfaces various light-up in response to the user's action. Customization and alternation of space could be defined by a furniture itself. A simple sofa has some options, plug in and off. Here the interior or combination of the design is not any more important, but rather one mere furniture express already the architectural plasticity.
Second, Tokyo Flow, invisible community. Our next key. Today, mobile phones and internet terminals are no longer by necessity physically situated in buildings. This gives a freedom for personal and business transactions to be conducted outside buildings in public space. Moreover, in Tokyo, there are numerous people's flow from suburban to central Tokyo, from the home to the center where they work every day. In such continuous flow, public space just become a kind of passing, and then people ignore each other, a mass of anonymous flow. The way people behave and the characteristics of outside public space have become very much transformed. And I can tell you the one simple example about how the telephone is historically developed. When telephone was introduced several decades ago, it situated only in the public buildings in the whole area. And telephone was taken as a public gateway to the other areas and only used mainly for official purposes. But when telephone moved its location to each house during economic development period, it was set next to the main entrance of the house, and thus was more like a protocol for guests. So people received and talked on the phone more like a protocol, welcome, or so on. And then, during 80s, telephone extension and more lines, sometimes wireless, reached into the private rooms. It became more private and people started using it for long, intimate chatting. It is thus no longer an official gateway. And when mobile phone became common, telephone entirely lost its relation to the physical space. People started using it as an immediate on and off of the personal and private zone within public space. Social landscape workshop we had in public square in Ikebukuro, a busy interchange station in central Tokyo. The architect who originally designed this square imagined a kind of ancient Greek forum or Roman piazza where people gathered and created public and communal discourse. Our research revealed how people actually use this square. In fact, people do not talk each other at all. The person next to you are more like an unknown shadow ignoring each other. While some people talk continuously on the mobile phones to absent bodies, others just gaze and through the crowds. Each person seems to bent on creating his private space more so in the public environment than in the private. This project, Vertical Dissection, is a project proposal for an exhibition space. Its design came from analysis of Tokyo public space. We collected together different forms of public space, like a walking space, or train space, internet space, or TV media space, or telephone space, and so on. Each booth has a particular and typical reconstruction of the experience. Like in the train space, the booth is always jam-packed, and shoulders touch each other, so the narrow and transparent plastic screens prevent you from talking to each other. It's a very strange space, similar to the maybe elevator space. And in the TV booth, there is a monitor screen. You can watch through the monitor what is going on inside another booth. It is one way of broadcasting, but you are not aware that you are shot by the hidden video camera to be watched in the further booth. These are collected together and set above one circular base, as if it is a common and shared public space. But to enter a booth, you must bend down and walk, and when you stand up, you may be aware that others are in the neighboring booth, but you cannot see what they do. The situation is, I believe, quite Tokyo-like. Next project is Armadillo Bench. We designed it in collaboration with the public furniture company. We designed this as a kind of interactivity between perception and body. It is for situation in public space, such as lobby or an airport lobby. When you sit, the bench changes shape to fit the body shape. When you stand, the bench slowly returns back to the original shape. It thus reveals, visualizes body reaction and relationship to the bench itself. The bench utilizes the soft plastic flexibility of urethane foam and the hinged steel frame system. We can see how many people were intrigued enough to try it out. They approach and examine it and find out the use whether it is comfortable. In response with this tool, we designed a way people can recover a relationship to each other. Using Pascal theory, oil dampers are connected with each other under the ground. When one sits down, and other stools rise according to the amount of pressure. And when one stands up, other stools fall correspondingly. Even though you may want to be alone in a crowd, maintaining your little private zone, each seated neighbor will intrude upon your privacy, and you actually have to wake up. Hey, you're in public.
So next, I would like to talk about our term, the hinged condition. This term, hinged condition, describes an ongoing investigation and interest so far for 10 years. And this early object was made to illustrate the architecture concept of selecting and turning, sectioning and turning. Crumpled black paper was put inside liquid plaster and when hardened, it was cut section by section down to each hinge. It represents a record of shifting space from one to another. Slight variation gives you imagination or fluidity of space. We consider there are many such events occurring in the urban situation. There exist these alternative changes in every section of the city. Next project is flat A and B is Hiroshi Nomiya's work. Two houses put in one volume, interweaving each other to create an interactive relationship. These section models show the topological relationship of flat A and B. And then this photograph shows that the flat A goes down to the basement, and then flat B goes up the second floor. It's kind of interaction. Here, this is a view of the interior flat A. A complex. This project is for family with a newspaper delivery business, numbering a distribution of thousands every morning and afternoon. Their business operation is quite complex. Morning delivery is at around 6 o'clock. Then, during midnight, they need the preparation of holding up thousands of newspapers and pile them up together for delivery cars. Then they need whole process again for the afternoon delivery at around 3 o'clock. It includes 2 houses, dormitory, an office, and workshop, and parking. It's very complicated. So they have their family for private life simultaneously, breakfast, lunch, dinner, and sleeping. These business operation and private together, it becomes a complex 24 hours operations, can become a life of confusion, and it used to be. But we designed very carefully the division and connection. You see like that. They are all separated in function, but necessarily interconnected to enable a 24-hour operation. This shows the entrance for house B, and stairs for the dormitory. Exterior surface reflects the internal division of each space, and each volume has independent entrance and enclosures, while there are kinds of hidden doors to allow shortcut for work efficiency. This is house A, house B, are closed in but open towards the inner courtyard. The office area is fully gated and open to the street side. This office space is situated at the center, and the other volumes are connected to this space. Thus, the office is regarded as a communal square for the family who runs this 24-hour business. Okay, I'll show you the project WL House. The location for this is in the suburb of Yokohama, near Tokyo, in a typical residential area. There are 2 strategies we took. One was to reflect the hilly location, and the other was to create a kind of open flow of activities. First, there is a platform, this diagram showing. First, there is a platform that allows open activity. This is lifted up to separate public and private divisions. Next, it was bent and enclosed to differentiate inside and outside of the space. Then 4 boxes are laid for different activities, which becomes the pivot for the rest of the open space, where dwellers act freely to use her own activities. This picture shows the scene of the exterior. I hope that you can see the L-shaped floors. These are the interior pictures. The L-shaped floors are skipped upwards and allow the dweller to walk up to down. A changing relationship of the activities to the courtyard, decks, and the surrounding context. The next project is named Sea House. This project illustrates hinged condition, which I mentioned before, in that its program is interchangeable or shifting. It is a private house that is also a cafe restaurant. The size is around 100 square meters, which is too small to contain both a house and a cafe restaurant as a program. In Tokyo, commercial and residential areas are often mixed up. This site is exactly situated where these two types of area face each other. Black one is the commercial area, and then white one is the residential area. In this drawing, you can see that commercial area wrap up the residential area. It is a kind of interface or reversible point of two areas. The client wanted to open up part of the house as a restaurant cafe, and even though it is such a small building, she also needs to live there. Our solution was to design a kind of alternating space. A cafe counter in the basement serves as both her kitchen and for the restaurant, while an upper restaurant lounge could be shifted to be a living or guest room for her. The black box is maintained wholly private. So in a way, the public and the commercial district came into the building and was wrapping it up, but its use could be at any moment reversible. This means that there is a door here in a halfway of the stairs. By opening and closing it, she can shift the situation between the private and the public, as if she alternatively turns off and on the mobile phone. As the person moves through the inside space, the black box surface becomes a ceiling, a wall, or finally floor. The C-shaped open cafe space surrounds the black box and works as a filter for the private box space for the city.
Okay, our last section is about our strategy and about Tokyo urbanism. We are pursuing a kind of third space between real city and a virtual city or global field or local field. As the global information system comes down to interface with our physical city, there must be a kind of node where those two different worlds meet, interact, to be connected with each other. So we are investigating what is the mediating field like. Context-aware messaging system. This is about 4 or 5 years ago, before the mobile phone became so common or popular. For this project, we were invited to test and experiment with the remote sharing system of a work environment. Our core members held a mobile phone and small computer, and these had direct access to server through the wireless connection. Each had a scheduler and a location of map and voice connection. So the server controlled the combination of each system. At any moment you could see the other member's schedule and current location, and also you could phone or mail each other reflecting members' schedule and situation. This was actually a fascinating experience for each of us. And we realized such a virtual sharing space or public domain could be much stronger than the sense of sharing a physical space. There was a feeling that the city of Tokyo became a real collaboration field, and it was visible for us. For example, I was aware one of the members would always turn off the connection at 11 p.m. on Friday night at a spot somewhere north of Tokyo. What he was doing, I'm not afraid I should not expose his assignation. Gauss, the next project we will show is a proposal for a nominated competition for a global entertainment and computer company. This was an ideal project for us, the concept being so close to our style of working. The client wanted to build a global headquarters building, and they needed the idea of a work-sharing space for workers who were spread across the globe. The idea of a ubiquitous and broadband network had to be combined with a physical collaboration space. We made up the concept Gauss, G-A-U-S-S, which is the term associated with the German scientist Gauss who worked in the magnetic theory. In this project, Gauss stands for Global Architecture for Ubiquitous Space Synchronization. Here, the word architecture means not only architecture of architecture design, but also architecture of information technology, which is structure of information. So the phrase global architecture suggests in that project global information structure that can be integrated with the physical space or architecture. The design is composed of 4 major parts. The project dock for intensive project work, and platform for effective work sharing support system, and a buffer zone is for informal meetings and exchanges, and media decks for broadband telepresence of world information. These components meet together around the central buffer zone, and they are interactivated. An organic institution where wireless positioning devices and an identification system allows the worker to access to all the facilities as well as the group where at any place wherever they are. Here is a model study of the media decks intercrossing with the other components. This became a hybrid section of the interactive activities. It's a massive building at the end. The size is 100 meter and 100 meter cubic shape. And the size of the site floor area is 14 hectare. And it's the size of the baseball stadium. This is a project dock and platforms in between, and the stairs between the project docks, which we call a switching hub. Okay, the last project to show, a recent one, completed in January. It is a renewal project for the 20 years old TEPCO Energy Museum. Its first and second floor needed to be reconstructed as a new interface with Shibuya Publics. This urban screensaver is set against the circular stairs and the entrance hall in front of the glazed DPG system and a glass mullion with a highly transparent glass. This makes LED screen appears as a moving facade of Shibuya City, producing a new relationship to the information, lighting, electricity, and the city. Here's the stairs and an urban screensaver, which is a louver, and then the entrance, and then there's a street and the Shibuya. So we try to make a kind of open space for the city. Urban screensaver, these we call LED lighting display system. Each dot of LED is composed of 9 diodes, 3 red, 3 greens, and 3 blue. There are about 1,088 dots, 32 dots vertical and 34 lines. And in total, nearly 10,000 diodes create more than 20,000 colors. The resolution, or DPI, of the image is intentionally lowered to make it appear rather as lighting than information screen. When you're close inside the space, it appears as an environmental installation of moving lights. And when you're away outside the building, the moving images get focused to be recognizable. It's the moving images here. When you're a bit far, it's easier to recognize. Okay, now I'd like to explain about us a bit. Teledesign is an open collaboration network organization working in architecture, urbanism, and other related fields in order to facilitate effective cross-disciplinary practice. We established teledesign in 1999. Since then, we have been intensively working in urbanism because it is the area that every interest can intersect. There are 7 core members, a number of affiliated network members, and also a group that we collaborate with. We make up a team appropriate for each project and try to take advantage of the shifting role of each member to formulate a unique creative dynamic. This is for us an important strategy, not only for physical reasons, but also to instigate the best circumstances for investigating urban condition and space of the city. Well, we reach to the last piece. Tokyo, unlike many other cities, have never had a coherent and extensive master plan, and it probably never will in the future. Financial and commercial concerns exist side by side with personal desires, and these disparate components become constructed as a city fabric. Additionally, across the globe, as financial markets are growing ever stronger, the world cities are becoming closer and closer. The world is becoming the network urban environment. So each urban setting is accelerated this tendency. A flatness has been expanded beyond horizon. Now we bring back to the concept node as catalyst. Catalyst refers to the substance that increase the rate of chemical reaction. If that's something we can do, we would like to invent a way to make something pivotal, to intervene into urban reality, look at all those small details of how a city actually works or being driven, then find a way to instigate a kind of chemical reaction with the least drop of catalyst. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. It was a wonderful transition going from the Edo Horizontal to Tokyo Horizontal, from the relationship to history coming very much to the 21st century discussions, and I'm sure that will give us a lot to talk about, especially in the context of what culture is and whether culture is part of tradition and how it begins to relate to issues of contemporary practice. I wonder whether our colleagues from Singapore, they're here? Great, because